A catastrophic earthquake in the Pacific Northwest would topple buildings and bridges, not to mention the damage from a tsunami. And now new research is showing another concern that's worse than previously thought.
Our Joe Ranieri is here to explain the major flooding risk along the West Coast. Hey, Joe.
Hey there. Yeah, so one thing we don't really talk about when we talk about the massive earthquakes, I can tell you that research doesn't paint a pretty picture of what could happen in low-lying areas, especially as sea levels continue to rise. In the case of a major earthquake, one researcher I spoke to says land along the coast could sink down as much as 8 feet.
There's just something breathtaking about the scene along the West Coast, a coastline that could look dramatically different in the event of a major earthquake along the Cascadia subduction zone.
What we looked at is kind of a lesser thought about and lesser known consequence of the next earthquake, which is the land subsidence, or the way the land is going to drop down.
The Cascadia subduction zone is about 40 miles off the coast. Dr. Tina Dura is the lead researcher and professor at Virginia Tech in the Department of Geosciences.
We know it can do this from the coastal geology and the evidence that we see in the sediments of the coastal marshes that show that the land has repeatedly dropped by that amount.
Dura says there could be as much as 4 to 8 feet of ground that could collapse.
The dropping down of the land is something that can persist for decades to centuries after the earthquake.
That kind of drop would increase flooding too.
And it's not going to go in the sort of Superman movie type of way, cracks opening in the ground and swallowing everybody into them.
Diego Melgar is the director of Crescent, the Cascadia Region Earthquake Science Center at the University of Oregon. He's been working on this research with Dura.
And what that means for folks is that as the land drops, that's like if sea level had suddenly risen 4 to 8 feet. So we're going to see lots of impacts in that we're going to lose certain kinds of land.
Melgar says places along the coast that aren't in a floodplain would be at risk for flooding after a major earthquake like a 9.0.
We can be thinking about how to prepare, how to adapt. We're really good at engineering. We're really good at geosciences. There's stuff we can do so that we're not caught unawares when this happens.
Making plans today, he says, will help in our future along the West Coast.
Now, Melgar also told me that we're not powerless. He also said it's important to think about our infrastructure and to think about where we build future hospitals and schools, for example. Tim and Stephanie, back to you.